Chapter 10. How are you this bad at waking up? You're supposed to be a hero next year. Hey, heroes sleep in? And you're a teacher. How are you always late? Bad time management? What's your excuse? I like to sleep. I can't argue with that. Now come on, we're going to be late. Wait, are we forgetting something? No, I should have everything. Are you forgetting something? I have our tickets. Right here, mine, yours, and mice. Wait, we forgot May. We did. Then why am I standing right here? May, how long have you been there? I slept at the airport. I wasn't going to miss a chance to go to Island for anything. Awesome, we have everything now, all we need to do is that our plane? It was. He felt like screaming. XXXX, thanks again for the ride, All Might. Izuku sighed, relaxing into his seat as he looked out the window to see nothing but the blue sea stretching out before them. It was bad luck that they had managed to miss their own commercial plane heading for the island. And good luck that they happened to run into Mirio and All Might on their way out. You're a real lifesaver. I don't think Dave would have let me live it down if I missed my first trip back. Don't mention it, Midoriya-sensei. All Might gave a weary laugh. We're workplace chums? Consider it an apology for relying on you so much at the school. I think teaching might be your true calling. And I don't think it's Dave you should be worried about. Melissa is the one that'll be really upset. What kind of uncle would I be if I didn't bring home her big brother? All Might inflated to his muscle form and flexed for a moment. Are you going to be okay? He looked behind All Might towards the door where a no doubt mildly grumpy NEGIRE was pouting at not being able to sit next to him. But hey, at least she got to sit next to May and Mirio. NEGIRE had the natural ability to get along with just about anybody. You have to be exerting yourself the whole time, right? I'll manage. He deflated and waved a hand that was somehow skinnier than his own. So, since you were coming here with Mirio, are you considering him for your quirk? All Might nodded. My sidekick, sir. Night Eye has been insistent on me choosing Mirio, even taking it upon himself to further Mirio's training. They're both rather fond of you, and I do think that he would make a great successor. Him and Kirishima. Both of them have the easy-to-smile heroism I was looking for. There's a but, isn't there? A sigh. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was once quirkless as well, but I find myself looking for someone that wants to be a hero despite their own inability. For them, it to be something beyond a dream for them. It sounds like you're looking for someone that's quirkless. If anything, it sounded like how he was before Dave found him. Maybe, but I'm not in a rush. Thanks to those exercises you gave me, I've even increased the time I can stay in muscle form a couple more hours. I dare say, you might have delayed my retirement by a decade. I didn't really do anything. I just applied Tai Chi practices to your work, seeing as how it works like inner strength, and just got lucky that it worked. Perhaps, but now then. A knock came from the door separating them with the others. All Might assume his muscle form just in time for the door to open, revealing a very cheerful NEGIRE, her long hair tied into a single ponytail due to their early morning rush. It still managed to twirl around at the bottom. Izuku, look, it's the island. She darted over to him and stuck her head out his window so that she was all but laying on top of him. He could feel the slight pushes of her quirk keeping her afloat. She was doing this on purpose. Haha, I take it it's your first time to Island, Ms. Hado. All Might boomed. Odd, I would have expected Mirio to share your enthusiasm. Oh, he's afraid of planes, especially if they go over the ocean. He's worried he might accidentally use his quirk and end up in the middle of the ocean. Izuku looked past NEGIRE and into the other cabin where Mirio was holding onto his chair for dear life, eyes closed, headphones in. Behind him was May, who was snoring loudly. It was impressive how much control that girl had over her sleep schedule. NEGIRE must have been bored out of her mind. Would you like to sit up here with us until we land? NEGIRE? It doesn't look like the others were very talkative. He offered, looking to All Might for permission. The always supportive man gave a quick nod. NEGIRE pulled her face from the window and looked at the two of them and then down at the table that was between them. Are you sure? I thought you guys were going to be drinking or smoking, which is why you didn't want to sit with us. Truthfully, it was so All Might could relax. All Might is a pro-hero and was the face of the anti-tobacco campaign for years. Izuku pointed at All Might and then to himself. And I'm a square. Ah, and that's why I like you, Izuku. NEGIRE beamed and took the seat right next to him. Fingers touching as you sure are close with your students, Izuku. It's great to see. All Might bellowed, laughing. and he really hoped that the man wasn't reading too far into it. Still looking at Island, he felt something he had felt in a while. Home. XXXX Island was just as wonderful as he remembered it being. The air was filled with the scent of the open sea and gave off a crisp, clean smell that just couldn't be found in Tokyo. And after leaving All Might, and apparently Mirio, to a swarm of female fans, he was free to hit up all his old favorites, which was pretty much the dorm room he no longer had and the university library. Maybe she should actually explore the island as a visitor this time? Alright, first things first is we should go drop our bags off at the hotel and then dash May's missing. Negire spoke up from his right as she pointed off in a random direction. What? How? Already? We just got off the plane. How could he lose the star pupil of the support department in less than 5 minutes? Well, when she woke up and got her pass, she cackled and said she had some ideas she wanted to work on and headed towards those buildings over there. It looked like she knew exactly where she was going. Negire shrugged, shouldering her bag and an extra one. I have her bag. Though, I'm sure we'll find her eventually. After she gets arrested. That's still finding her, Izuku. She had a point. And, wait, you normally call me sensei at least once today. Is something wrong? Did I mess up? Negire hummed, placing a finger to her cheek as she smiled. No, that's not it. I just dash Izuku. They both turned to see a blonde-haired woman riding towards them on a Segway. Izuku? It is you. Melissa. He laughed, dropping his bags and opening up his arms to hug her. Her transportation vanished into a small rod as she flung herself at him. Her momentum and mass against his weight and general lack strength resulted in both of them falling to the ground. Oh my goodness! Izuku? I haven't seen you in forever. How's UA? Are you doing a good job teaching? What's Tokyo like? Have you seen Uncle Might? Oh, and who's this? Melissa asked all of those questions as she stood up, looking over to see Negire, who was doing her best to smile at her. Is she one of your students? I'm Negire-chan. I'm Izuku's part-time assistant. Negire beamed, looking incredibly cute in her hero costume. He's told me a lot about his family on Island. An assistant? Wow, I guess you must be really important for them to give you a hero for an assistant. Melissa bumped his elbow before extending her hand out to Negire. Nice to meet you, Negire-chan. I'm Melissa Shield. I'm basically this dork's sister. Nice to meet you to Melissa. If you see a pink-haired girl with really cool crosshairs in her eyes cackling madly, that's Mei. She's Izuku's student and we kind of lost track of her. Negire paused for a moment, tilting her head to the side. If there's an explosion, that's probably her fault. Melissa's face fell. That doesn't sound very good. It'll be fine, but what's your quirk? Why do you wear glasses? How bad are your eyes? How old are you? What do you major in? Have you made anything? Oh, what was that thing you were riding in on? It looked super neat. Negire has entered rapid-fire question mode, it seemed. Oh, I don't have a quirk. I can't see good without my glasses. I'm 18. I'm majoring in the same field as my father. Support items. It's a pocket Segway that's really common around the island. Did you want to try it? Despite the smile on her face, Melissa sounded like she was listing off answers to a test. Oh, yes please. Negire, you can fly. So, I'm not allowed to fly all the time. You're floating right now. 'Cause I'm excited. Melissa's laughter stopped their little argument before it turned into anything. I can see why she's your assistant, Izuku. You two sound like a married couple. He blushed. Negire just beamed. But is your name Negire-chan, or is that an honorific? Melissa asked Negire. Oh, it's my hero name. My name is Negire Hado, and because a friend thought it sounded cute, I decided to just go with Negire-chan for my hero name. Negire twirled, letting their bags fall to the ground. I can shoot waves of energy out of my body, so I really couldn't think of a good hero name based off of that. Though now that I can fly, maybe I should have called myself something with fairy in the name. Well, it suits you. Melissa nodded, and thank you for taking care of Izuku. He's a bit useless on his own. I know, he keeps forgetting his umbrella. Okay, he needed to put an end to this. Hey Melissa, All Might and I came in on the same plane. Why don't you go see if you can rescue him and his guest from his fans? We need to head to the hotel and then we'll meet all you at your dad's workshop. He lifted up both his bags and May's bag, smiling at his would-be little sister. He had a feeling she'd get along with Negire, just was expecting them to at least wait for him to leave before they became best friends forever. Huh? Oh sure. He's a bit busy right now, but I think he'll be more than happy to see you and Uncle Might. This is going to be the first time we've all been together before. I'm so excited. She unfurled her transportation and revved the engine. I'll see you later, Izuku. Nice to meet you, Negire-chan. Your sister seems nice, Izuku. Negire hummed, picking up her bags once more, a large smile on her face. I like her. I had a feeling you would. He paused, looking around to get his bearings once more. The hotel shouldn't be too far away. He turned to Negire and remembered what they were talking about minutes ago. So, why haven't you been calling me sensei today? A soft but mischievous smile appeared on her face as she walked right beside him. With her free hand she twirled one of her hair horns and raised an eyebrow at him. She walked with purpose, her hips swaying, and she took on a more mature pose. You know, Izuku, here on Island, nobody knows that you were my sensei. I'm just your assistant. Negire, what are you saying? I'm saying that if we wanted to go on a date, nothing could stop us. How long have you been planning this? Like a week, when I realized that May wouldn't be a third wheel. She reached into her bag and pulled out a white piece of fabric tied by some strings. I even bought a super cute bikini to show you. He had never been so grateful that they were staying in completely separate rooms just down the hall from each other. XXXX, I'm sorry sir, but due to overbooking, we had to upgrade your party to the master suite with 2 separate bedrooms, 1 double and 1 master. We're sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. The overly cheerful voice of the holographic woman said. He felt a sense of dread build as he took the 3 key cards for the room and turned to see Negire, who was smiling ear to ear. Maybe he should stop running from it and just embrace it? Yes, because that sounded like a fantastic way to lose his job. Their hotel room was probably the nicest place he'd ever stayed in. The main sitting area was easily larger than his entire apartment, with a large couch that divided the area into a small, more comfortable area equipped with a large TV, all of which was overpowered by the large windows that gave a breathtaking view of the island's lake and park area. Instead of joy, or wondering how much a room like this would actually cost, he was filled with suspicion. He stared at Negire, who was all but bouncing with energy, her feet not even touching the ground as she fluttered around. Looking at everything, she instantly found that the windows were smart windows and could display things like the weather, current location, a map, best places to eat, and could even be darkened for privacy. Those windows were probably more expensive than his entire net worth. But more importantly, Izuku walked over to Negire, trying not to smile as she marveled at just about everything in their room. No, it wasn't their room. They had separate rooms. This was just the common area, living room area, and the kitchen. Kitchen? That was a nice kitchen. Maybe he could get Negire's cooking again. That wouldn't be encouraging her, would it? No, that would just be okay. It was. So, how did you do it? He asked her as she flopped onto the couch for half a second and turned on the TV. Some kind of news was on. Do what? The TV? There's a remote right here. She held up the thin black bar before dropping it and grabbing a different remote. The fan then started spinning. No, I mean to get us this room. It had to be you. There's no way that we were given this because everywhere else was full. He turned towards the bedroom, his bedroom. The bed was huge, extravagant, and he was probably going to get literally the most amazing sleep he could ever imagine in it. How long were they staying here again? Negire snorted as she did a backflip to get off the couch, and took 2 steps before she was in the air again. You think I did this? Like with hacking the database or something? I can barely use my phone. My email password is password? Also, wow, your room is huge. I know. He tossed his bags down to the side and sighed. A week? They had a whole week here, or at least that's as long as the expo was allowed. In theory, he could stay here a bit longer, if it wasn't for the fact that he needed to show up for the summer camp. So you didn't do anything to get us this room? No. Negire shook her head as her feet touched the ground. Why was it a constant relief that she was shorter than he was? I think it's mostly just good luck. Or maybe May did it. But I don't think she'd care if she was forced to sleep outside in a box if she was here. She lifted her bag and marched into her and May's separate room. Besides, it's not like this really changes anything, does it? We're going to be spending most of our time out exploring the island, visiting your friends and family, going on a couple of dates, and just have a lot of fun. So, you're not going to try anything? He asked. Something? Like what? she said with a bit of innocence to her voice that did a damn good job of hiding the cunning genius that lay below it. Her voice continued echoing through the hall and into his room. Izuku, my goal is to have fun with you this week. I'm not going to do anything you're uncomfortable with. Besides, I don't think I'm crazy enough to sneak into your room and cuddle with you in bed. But I would like couch cuddles while we watch a movie. Oh, that sounds like fun. Wouldn't that mean spending more time in here? He called, raising his voice just a bit to carry through the rooms. Well, yeah, but that won't be so bad. I can even make us dinner. He heard NEGIRE leave her room as her voice trailed after her. Then he heard the slider opened, followed by a gasp. Izuku, there's a hot tub. NEGIRE appeared in his room with stars in her eyes. We need to get in it. What? Now? He asked, taking a step back from her. I don't even have a swimsuit. Not now, maybe not even tonight. But we can get you a swimsuit? Come on, let's go. I don't want to miss the preview either. Oh, she gasped, falling to her feet, eyes going distant. There's so much to do. He stared at her for a second. Was this what NEGIRE looked like when she was overstimulated? Was that really possible? It was kind of cute. Well, cuter than normal for NEGIRE. He snapped his fingers in front of her face. NEGIRE. Oh, right. We need to go. Come on, Izuku. She didn't even wait for him to protest. Before grabbing his arm and dragging him out of their hotel room. XXXX, there was so much to explore, so many questions to ask, and so much time she could spend with Izuku. Already she had done a villain obstacle course and got a score of 18 seconds. Then there was that hero with a quirk that turned him into a giant lizard, and apparently, he was famous. There was so much stuff to do. Oh, Izuku. She floated down next to him, pointing at a large building. She suddenly understood his need to constantly wear some kind of a vest. It was basically the fashion on the island. Seriously, she'd seen more vests here in one day than she had in her whole life. Well, outside of a store, that is. What's in that one? That one? Oh, that's the main body of the expo. Do you want to go check it out? Izuku gave a soft laugh, scratching the back of his head as he paid far too much attention to what everybody else was thinking. They were finally, mostly, alone and able to spend all this time with each other. Wait, she was the one flying around looking at all the things. There was just so much she wanted to know. So that's where they keep all the new support items, right? Izuku nodded. Yeah, I think a fair chunk of them use designs that Dave patented. A lot of them are generic as well, meaning that they just kind of make them and hope there's someone with a quirk that can use it. Most of the time there is. Wow, that sounded like it was impressive. We should probably go there before the crowds come tomorrow, right? Oh yeah, Izuku nodded, thrusting out his chest. It gets packed. Then let's go. She grabbed his hand and pulled him along the paths, laughing at his protests. Should she call this a date? She'd have to ask Izuku if he called it a date. It wasn't a date unless both people thought it was a date. All she knew was that as she dragged Izuku around through the myriad of promos and talked to a few big pros, she was really happy. Well, she knew other things, like the things they were doing, were completely amazing, but somehow that felt ever so slightly more important. Then she saw something that made her raise an eyebrow and then smile. It was Mirio, smiling broadly and being his usual animated self, only kicked to 1,000 as he talking to Izuku's more or less little sister Melissa. Normally, romance wasn't something she really thought about, but just by looking at the two, was she that obvious when she talked to Izuku? According to literally everyone that heard them talk to each other for more than 2 seconds, yes. Is that Mirio? Izuku asked from behind her. With Melissa? Yep. She kept her voice low despite her excitement. Mirio showing interest in a girl was rare. And really exciting? We should go see if they want to join us. Izuku was dense, and she technically liked that about him. She slapped a hand on his chest and held him back just the slightest bit. No, leave them be. What, why? He did look cute with his eyebrow raised. Seriously raised eyebrows? She was swooning over eyebrows now? Sure, she wanted to run her fingers through Izuku's hair while he rested his head on her lap, but that was like actually romantic. She looked back at the pair of blondes and smiled. They were so into each other. Because I think they're flirting. Really? Izuku asked, shocked, his face twisting as he considered the question. Those two? He asked again, looking at them. No, they couldn't. I mean, they just met. There's no way that. His mouth fell open and he blinked, his right eye almost twitching. They are. I'm conflicted. What? Why? This is a good thing. She clapped her hand over her mouth as she blurted that out. Neither Mirio or Melissa looked their way. Yep, that made it official. Well, Melissa is kind of my little sister, so I'm supposed to do something right? But then Mirio is also my student and I shouldn't get involved with my students' love lives. Aha, that was why they were basically going to go on one giant date for the next week, right? She touched Izuku's shoulder lightly. You're also his friend, Izuku, and as his friend, you should be happy that he's finally found someone that can make him smile like that. Well, I mean, he always smiles like that, but it's different. Izuku paused, running his hand through his green hair. No fair? When did she get to do that? And sighed. You're right, Negire, I'll leave them be. Good, besides, it'd be really weird to go on a double date before we've gone on a date. She snorted and grabbed him by the wrist before he could respond, enjoying the blush that grew on his face. Negire. He half whined, half shouted. Music to her ears. Now come on, we need to get you a pair of trunks, and go get something to eat before the party. Tonight. She laughed, smiling at him as she floated backwards, slowing down to just barely faster than a walk and grabbing his other hand. You're going to love my dress. I am, he asked, blushing, his mouth all but hanging open. I'm not even wearing it yet, Izuku. Keep your mouth off the ground until then. XXXX. His mouth hit the floor. And so did Negire's. They had gotten back to their hotel room with time to spare, just enough food in their bellies to endure a party scene and a pair of board shorts for him to wear in the hot tub, and if the way Negire was looking at the sandy lakeshore and various watercraft earlier was any indication, a trip or two to the lake. But what they hadn't expected when they got back to their room was to find May. Honestly, he kind of forgot that he was technically responsible for her, standing in front of the large mirror in the walkway applying the final touches of her lipstick. She looked cleaned. As in actually clean, not the I wiped the oil off clean she normally had, but a proper clean. Her hair was tied up in a bun at the back of her head, held in place by two high-tech looking pins. No, right now she looked like someone that actually cared about how they looked. A bit too much. The blue and gold kipeo dress she was wearing looked almost natural on her as it brought out the woman that had probably always been there. A pair of long black gloves that reached more than halfway past her elbow had an elegant flower design on it, and the cut on the side was dangerously high, especially for someone like May. At least her shoes weren't some outrageous set of heels and instead were just flat. You are May, right? Negire asked, finally snapping out of it. Then she was back to normal, looking around May with wide eyes filled with amazement. Right. What are you wearing? Do you have one I can wear? It looks so good. Oh? Why are you wearing it? Where have you been? Is that lipstick? Do the things in your hair do anything? Are you going somewhere? May examined herself in the mirror for a second and nodded. She looked serene, beautiful, and at peace. Then that smile came back. It's a kipeo dress, and tonight's the biggest party for inventors of the whole year. I might not have anything on display at the expo yet, but this could be my chance to get even more sponsors than I got at the sports festivals. I can't wait to meet and greet with all those professionals. This is my chance. Yes, there was the mania he had grown to adore. How did you get into the hotel room? We didn't give you a key. More importantly, how did she know this was their room? The door. May shrugged and reached over to grab a small purse and tucked it under her arm. I'm going to head there early. I don't want to waste a chance of trying to get in good with the investors. See ya. Wait, your keycard dash, and she was out the door. Well, she got in once. Well, that was something. He laughed, turning to Negire, who was starting to undo her hero costume, the large rings that were around her arms falling to the countertop. She had that determined look on her face. Is something wrong, Negire? May stole my thunder. She pouted, floating off into the bathroom where the shower turned on, making him very aware that Negire was naked in there. Thankfully, he was fairly certain he has his own bathroom. After getting dressed in his best formal clothes, Izuku sat on the couch, staring not at the news but at the door to Negire's room, where she hadn't come out in a while. And the anticipation was getting a bit much. Try as he might, he couldn't shake the smile she had given him when she first mentioned her dress. She had sounded so happy, so eager, and that had rubbed off on him as well. Would she go with sexy, cute, beautiful, something in the middle? There were so many possibilities. Part of him knew he shouldn't be thinking like that, but that part of him was little more than a whisper that vanished when he was with Negire. Izuku, can you come here? Negire called from her room. He was at the door before he had even processed the request, his hand almost touching the door handle. Ah, what is it? I need your help. Can you come in? The door's open. Her voice was soft. Steeling himself, he walked in prepared to help her with whatever request it was. Somehow Negire stood in front of a mirror, hands behind her back as she struggled to put on a necklace of some kind. Her dress was a heart-stopping red that made her light blue hair and brilliant eyes pop. It was sleeveless and short, covering her body while leaving her slender arms and legs exposed. The cut was deep as well, showing off just a bit of a good amount of cleavage. She went all three. Sexy, cute, beautiful, and brought them all to the maximum. All at once she looked ready to dance at a club, attend a family affair, and mingle at a party like the one they were going to. Necklace please, she whined, stamping her feet and pouting in the mirror at him. Right, hold still. He took both ends from her and clasped it around her neck, the golden chain holding a green stone that completed her outfit. He placed one hand on her bare shoulder for just a second and looked at her in the mirror. She was smiling widely at him as she touched his hand. What do you think? I think that you look beautiful, Negire. Her smile was so pure and filled with life that his heart melted. Thank you, I'm glad. She looked at Izuku, smiling at him as they rode up in the elevator. It was all she could do to not start floating and being even giddier than she already was. Instead she simply hummed, swaying back and forth, feeling the floaty bits of her dress float about her. It was basically official. She was Izuku's date to one of the biggest parties in the support and hero world, and Izuku looked absolutely adorable in his suit, especially with the little red bow tie that almost matched her dress. Seriously, he was just looking so amazing. He caught her looking and smiled at her. It was the kind of smile he had taken to giving her when they were alone and he wasn't worried about anything. The kind that told her it was just a matter of time before they were official. You're really happy right now, he said softly, scratching the back of his head as he blushed just the slightest bit. It happened whenever he looked at her too long when she was wearing this dress, which was just awesome. Score? Izuku thought she was cute. Of course I am. I'm going to a big fancy party where I get to wear this super cute dress that the guy I like said I looked really good in, and he keeps smiling at me whenever he looks at me. She hummed, watching as Izuku blushed even more. He was so cute when he was embarrassed. And there's so much to look forward to. We have a whole week to spend on Island. A whole week where almost everybody thinks that we're a couple already. Why wouldn't I be happy? The elevator dinged and the doors opened while Izuku was still recovering from her relentless assault. As a final blow, she hooked elbows with him and pulled him into the hall where many heroes and other people were milling about. Instantly she saw Mei talking to several businessmen and women at once, delightfully showing them what her pins could do. It looked pretty. Izuku. A man's voice called them over and she saw Izuku's face look up. The man was wearing a simple gray suit, had short brown hair and a set of glasses. My boy, it's been too long. Dave. Izuku said, sliding out from her grasp to go and hug the man in a full-on hug. So, that was David Shield, Melissa's father, and the man that brought Izuku to Island. I've missed you. Ha. David laughed, pushing Izuku back as he looked at him. Judging by how skinny you are, I think you've been missing the food most of all, or is being a teacher that stressful? Tell me, how is you today? Izuku smiled and gave an easy laugh. It's been great, aside from All Might accidentally leaving all the paperwork to me. Huh? That does sound like him, Toshi. David called All Might over, who walked in smiling like a champ. Have you been giving Izuku a hard time? The #1 hero gave a room-shaking laugh and slapped Izuku on the back. It's nothing he couldn't handle. Besides, he's a brilliant young man. Just look at his students. You saw the sports festival this year, did you not? Negire leaned back, spotting Mirio for half a second as he took Melissa by the hand out onto a balcony from the rest of the crowd. Smooth. I did. Were those your students, Izuku? David asked, easily gesturing for someone to bring a drink over to their conversation. He then looked right at her and smiled. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the girl in the final round for the 3rd years, was she not? That's right. She jumped up, finally getting into the conversation. I'm NEGIRE HADO. Izuku helped me learn how to use my quirk to fly, and now I'm an assistant in his class and I make sure that he doesn't forget his umbrella. He's an amazing teacher and I think that he's going to make a big difference with the heroes he teaches. NEGIRE. Izuku gave her a harsh whisper that she naturally ignored. Huh? Is that so? That's amazing. David swelled with pride as he handed Izuku a drink. I'm glad to hear that you're doing so well over there, Izuku. I guess I won't be able to lure you back to the island anytime soon though. Oh? Why do you want Izuku back? Is there some super secret project that you need Izuku for? She asked, bouncing up and down. Haha, nothing like that. I just think that there's a lot of good he can do here. Besides, he's the closest thing I have to a son. It's only natural I'd want to work with him. David shook Izuku's shoulder, smiling at him. But I'm happy he's following his dreams. Thanks, Dave. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to get ready for my speech. And see where Melissa went. David looked around the crowd, eyebrows raised. She bit her lip, wondering if she should keep Mirio's secret or to just blurt it out. They were a cute couple, and she owed it to him for not saying anything about her gigantic crush on Izuku and her plans to basically seduce him. Nope. She was going to keep silent. Besides, if Melissa was with Mirio, there were few places safer. XXXX apparently, there wasn't going to be a dance. Which was totally and completely fine. It wasn't like she was looking forward to it or anything. It wasn't really a real party. Sure, there was food and it looked like May was having fun, and she did have some fun. But most of what went down was just nothing but conferences and boring talks. She did meet a lot of cool heroes, and got some business cards from people that recognized her from the sports festival. But she really didn't want to call it a party. There wasn't even any music. At some point in the night, she had lost Izuku. Well, lost wasn't the right term, just drifted away as he was pulled into conversations with old friends, and she was busy asking everybody else a billion questions. It felt like it had been hours and people were already starting to leave. She spotted Izuku in a corner, looking like he was completely done with talking to people. She took 2 steps and floated the rest of the distance over to him, being sure to grab another set of drinks along the way. I found you, Negire hummed, landing right next to him and offering him a glass while leaning against the same wall. He was not a fan of crowds. That obvious. Izuku took the glass and took a small sip. Thanks. Standing in the corner not talking to anyone is a good sign that you don't want to be here anymore. Tamaki goes right for the corner whenever we drag him anywhere, she hummed, taking a sip of their drink. Oh, it was fizzy. How have you been enjoying the party though? It's been fine. It was nice hearing Dave and the others talk, and I think a lot of the new gear coming out is going to help a lot. So I can't really say it was pointless, and I did catch up with a few people. He looked at her with a soft smile. And no one flirted with me. She tilted her head and placed a finger on her chin while raising a single eyebrow at him. Oh, really? And why would that matter? Because you get jealous. I do not. You so do. You told Ryoko that her desperation was showing. You heard that? No, she told me when I bumped into her on the streets. Darn. Well, so what? I'm allowed to be jealous, aren't I? She huffed, putting on her best fake pout that lasted only for a second before smiling at Izuku. He shrugged, smiling back at her. I guess you are, but how have you been enjoying the party? You seem right in your element. I'm pretty spent. I really was hoping there'd be a dance or something. More than talking to people, it's supposed to be a party, not just talking to everyone about everything. Even I get tired of that eventually. She swirled the liquid in her glass before finishing it off and looking to Izuku. You wanna head back to the hotel? He looked around the party for a second before finishing his drink and nodding. Sure. Great. She finished her drink as well and grabbed him by the arms. Hold on tight. What? Izuku screamed loudly as she flew out of the building, holding him bridal style. Which was fair, because they were way higher up than she thought they were. XXXX Negire, Izuku said as they landed on the balcony of their hotel room, his legs barely under him as he stood there trying to gather his composure. Yes, Izuku. She bit her lip, smiling at him. He looked really good with his hair pushed back by the wind. Please don't do anything like that ever again unless my life is in danger. He placed a hand over his heart and smiled at her, especially without warning. Hee, sorry, I just wanted to get back here quick. She laughed, popping off her shoes to let her feet finally breathe. They might not have been heels, but they were still not super comfortable. She looked at the very welcoming hot tub that was just begging her to drag Izuku into, but that wasn't a tonight thing. So, what do you want to do? It's a bit too early to go to bed. Even if the first day of the expo is tomorrow. We can watch a movie or something. Izuku paused as he opened up the sliding glass door to the inside of the apartment, the window flashing green for a second as it detected their keycard. Fancy. Actually, I think I have an idea. The moment he walked in, he turned on the lights while expertly kicking his shoes off to the side. She followed after him, closing the door behind her just as it began to change colors, the panels moving from soft pinks and purples that spread throughout the room. The TV turned on, playing some of the latest music, without vocals and carried with a soothing beat that just put a smile on her face. With no small amount of effort, Izuku pushed the coffee table off to the side before standing and holding his hand out to her. Want to dance? Yes. She squealed, tossing her shoes, and floated over the couch to meet him in the middle. This was by far the most romantic thing Izuku had ever done for her. This so counted as a date and counted as basically just absolutely everything. Do you even know how to dance? Not really. Melissa tried to teach me a bit, but I think we'll mostly be holding onto each other and spinning around a bit. He offered her a half shrug, his smile still shining as the light changed from purple to orange. Well, I don't really know how to dance with a partner, so we'll figure it out. She grabbed his hand just like they did in the movies and hummed as they began to sway to the beat. But I don't think we're supposed to slow dance to hip-hop. Does it matter? He asked, moving a hand around her waist and spinning her around so her feet left the ground. Nobody else can see us dance. I guess it doesn't. But does this mean you accept my feelings? She asked, one hand on his arm as she moved in closer, feeling Izuku's heart beating against her own. She felt him nod. You didn't really leave me with much of a choice. The way you've gone about all of this has my head spinning, and I just can't deny that I see you that way. You're more than a friend to me, NEGIRE. So yes, I do accept your feelings, and return them. You realize this will make things that much harder for you once we go back, right? She asked, burying her face into his shoulder as she felt her smile spread throughout her body. For both of us. I know, but like you said, we have a whole week here, so we should make the most of it, right? His hand held hers as they softly swayed to the beat of the song playing. Besides, I can't imagine it'll be easier for you either. True. She pulled away from him and looked up at him. Why did he look so handsome right now? Why was her heart racing? Oh right, giant crush on Izuku. Hey, Izuku. He hummed softly, looking her in the eyes. I'm going to kiss you now. K. He gasped when she did just that. His lips were chapped, his breath was hot, and it was lit. Chapter 10. How are you this bad at waking up?